Welcome to the debate. I'm your host, Sana Maqbool, with you at PTV WORLD. In today's show, we will be taking a look at two very important stories. The first is with reference to Iran's nuclear program, in which we now know that the UN nuclear watchdog has passed a resolution talking about unexplainable uranium and Iran's non-cooperation with regards to the IAEA's investigation into its nuclear program. This resolution has been passed during the governors' meeting in Vienna, and they also talked about how this is something that is of serious concern, and due to Iran's non-cooperation amongst the different members of the IAEA and with regards to its nuclear program, there is a concern that Iran might be able to develop a nuclear weapon, and it has said that the current existence and the status of uranium within Iran does allow Iran to make an atomic bomb if it so wants to pursue. In addition, it has also called for the international community to be able to respond to this particular development, calls on Iran to cooperate with the IAEA, to engage with its investigators, and to make sure that its uranium facilities are open to the investigators. In the meantime, we also seen that Iran's foreign ministry has responded to this resolution, and they have said that this is something that has resulted just from a hasty response by the IAEA Director General, and it's based on fabricated information. They've also said that this move will not yield any results, and Iran will not back off from its peaceful nuclear program, and has said that it has continued to cooperate with the IAEA since March, and it has shown all kinds of assistance to the IAEA investigators as well, including providing technical data as well. It has also said that in response to this resolution, Iran will be taking measures accordingly, and has said that this includes advanced centrifuges and its installments, and deactivating the ultra safeguards. It has also deactivated cameras prior to the passing of this resolution, making it far more difficult for the IAEA to be able to monitor its program as well. So we're going to take a look at how this particular development and Iran's nuclear program and of course the nuclear deal is going to play out now, and what is going to be the next step forward, and how this is going to impact the political situation in the world. We'll also, in our second segment, take a look at the situation with regards to the Islamophobic comments that have recently been passed by the BJP leaders. We have seen quite a serious backlash from the Muslim world with reference to these statements, of course, as they hurt the Muslim sentiment deeply, and is totally unacceptable that someone says anything insulting towards the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him. We've also seen that however barbaric or insulting these comments may be, this is a sentiment that perhaps is echoed in other parts of the world as well, and not just in India. We've also seen the Dutch far-right politician Geert Wilders also providing a support to the BJP spokesperson, and has been calling her heroic. This, of course, is problematic in a much larger Islamophobic context as well, something that not only Pakistan, but the Muslim world throughout the global world is, of course, facing with, and it's a challenge that the entire Muslim nations need to be able to address. So we're going to be taking a look at that in our second segment of the show. For this and more, I've been joined in the studios, as always, by Farrukh Pitafi and Raja Faisal. And for our first segment with regards to Iran's nuclear program, I've been joined online by Dr. Adam Sultan, who's a nuclear security expert, and we will soon also be joined by Ghanbar Naderi, who's an Iranian journalist. Thank you very much, Dr. Adil, for being a part of the debate. I'll start with you. When we talk about the recent development with regards to the IAEA expressing serious concerns and passing a resolution towards Iran's nuclear program, and highlighting the fact that Iran has not been cooperating, and that there are unexplainable uranium particles that exist on undeclared nuclear facilities. And this, of course, points us to the question of whether or not there is a serious concern that the world needs to take into account. But more importantly, also, this is something that has been stalled, the talks around the nuclear deal, since, of course, there were sanctions put on Iran, and Iran has been calling on the lifting of these sanctions before the nuclear deal is back on track. When we talk about how the IAEA or Iran will be proceeding in this account, it seems that both the sides are at a stalemate, where Iran has also reacted strongly and said that this is not going to yield any results from the Iranian side. How do you see the current situation?
Thank you for having me. This move to pass this resolution has further complicated the talks between Iranians and the IAEA and also indirect talks that were happening with the United States. The allegations about this undiscovered uranium particles, I think these are old ones. These are not new. But the timings of this resolution suggest that the United States probably wants to shift the blame on Iranian for not complying, because the basic issue that has been stuck between Iran and United States is that Biden, due to domestic politics, he is unable to give waive off the sanctions on the IRGC. So that's the main sticking point. So because of his domestic concerns, he's not moving forward. Now they have used IAEA and the European partners to put pressure on Iran. Uh, European Union, the three, those who were the co-sponsors of this resolution, they are for the time being lining themselves with the United States to fulfill Iran's whatever ambitions are. But fundamentally, they're not happy because they are under stress. There are stresses on global oil supply. They want Iranian issue to be resolved, especially because of the ongoing Russian-Ukrainian conflict. And seems to be appearing cracks within EU and United States on this issue. So probably US is using this opportunity to bring in IAEA to build more support and pressure Iran.
Right, and we've also seen that this resolution, of course, has been passed by a lot of countries as well, and so perhaps this concern, even if it is this platform is being used by the US or other allies as well, is something that perhaps can pave the way towards serious consequences for Iran. If this is an issue of non-compliance by Iran with regards to its nuclear program and the IAEA's investigation, and if this resolution is there stating that, then how do you see the future course of action by the IAEA as a consequence to Iran not complying to its investigation?
It
What's
will
going to happen?
complicate It will complicate IEA's work because IEA was already in a difficult situation because this is not only a technical issue, this is also a political issue where different stakeholders have varied interests. So IEA does want to make progress and move ahead with Iran, but by bringing this resolution, definitely there is going to be reaction from the Iranian side, as you also said in your opening remarks. So IEA will have to find ways to convince Iran or to encourage Iran to remain engaged with them for the safeguards issue. I think overall impact is going to be negative. So whatever achievements IEA might have made up till now, it is going to be a setback for the IEA efforts.
Right. Farrukh, when we look at the situation, there of course has been increased sanctions in the past towards Iran as well, and the nuclear deal also seems to be at the dead end for now. We have seen that the sanctions are used as a strategy to, of course, be able to tell countries to act a certain way or to deter any sort of program or action that countries might want to. But there is, of course, as you've mentioned before, a tipping point to that as well. And we've seen that Iran's stance has been unwavering, and they've talked about how their program is a peaceful one and they will pursue it. So when we look at the current situation, and if we see that the IAEA or other countries around the world agree on one stance, what sort of serious action do you think can be taken? Can we see an escalation, perhaps, which is military in terms or in context, or if there's going to be increasing sanctions towards Iran?
Right, Sana, I think they have already sanctioned Iran a lot. I don't know how much further can they sanction it, whether it is going to be productive at all. But while you were talking to Dr. Sultan, and I was, three words or phrases were coming to my mind. One was, of course, coercive diplomacy to get certain result, as you pointed out, as Dr. Sultan also pointed out, and I think that is an important part of what is going on right now. But then there is this subjectivity, objectivity debate right now, because there are two things which are shifting, two things which are changing. Because of the economic situation all over the world, there seems to be a need to press Iran to actually cooperate so that there can be some concessions given to it. And on the other side, of course, there is a hardline government that has taken over Iran, right? So in that situation, it can be said that, the truth is the blind man's elephant, You can actually make claims about anything.
Right.
But what
unfortunately, Farrukh, I'll have to stop you there. We have to go on a short break, and we'll be right back and continue the discussion. Welcome back to the debate. Earlier we were talking about Iran's nuclear program, and we had with us online Dr. Adam Sultan. Thank you very much for being with us on the debate. Farrukh, you were talking about the nuclear program.
Right. I was talking about these three terms that immediately come to my mind. One was coercive diplomacy, the other one was subjectivity, objectivity debate. But the third one that is actually most pertinent is cut out for this moment. It seems that Iran at this moment is cut out for the current situation, because at this moment, because of Russia and overall inflation and because of the fuel prices, Iran's induction into OPEC's free-flowing access can really be helpful for the entire world. So I think that at this moment, while your question was that whether there is going to be escalation between the West and Iran, I think at this moment there might be some posturing, but in the end it is going to resolve. And let us hope, because we are sitting next to the country and we can benefit from lifting of sanctions as well. Let's hope that in coming days we see that the temperature goes down and there's some kind of bridging between the two sides.
All right. Yes, Faisal, quickly.
Yes, Anna, I wanted to take a question towards Dr. Adil.
Unfortunately, we don't have Dr. Adil with us anymore, so we're going to be.
You can take a question to yourself.
I can, I can take a question to myself, and that is related to what Iranians would be thinking right now. And I think Iranians are very smart enough to understand the current crisis which is being created, and it is persisting in Western world as well. That is obviously due to Ukrainian war right now. So I think the oil crisis, the energy crisis, they are looking into it deeply, and that is why they are undeterred, and this is why they have removed all of the surveillance cameras whatever the equipments were being used by IAEA over monitoring the Iranian nuclear program. So
absolutely,
I think they are doing fine. They are smart enough.
We also have with us Dr. Hamid Khan, who's a former ambassador, and Dr. Hamid Khan, who's a senior analyst, for our second segment of the show today, with regards to the Islamophobic statements that we have seen come in from India, something that unfortunately is also prevalent in other parts of the world. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being a part of the debate. I'll start with you, Dr. Jamil. When we look at the statements that have been coming in from the BJP leaders, perhaps this is something that we are used to, or that we have seen in the past as well, and this is something that is quite obvious and evident in the various actions and policies of the BJP government as well. But there are, of course, other people around the world who echo the same sort of statements and sentiment, and that is unfortunate, because then we understand the extent to which Islamophobia is spread across the world, and how big of a challenge it is perhaps for the Muslim community. We've also seen that Dutch far-right politician Geert Wilders has extended his support to BJP spokesperson. When we're faced with such challenges and the Islamophobia running across different nations and countries, how exactly do you think that Pakistan, along with other Muslim countries, should be able to respond to this? Because again, it's a more collective challenge than just something which is limited to India. What do you think? Dr. Jamil?
This time, India is in a real fix, and I feel that the kind of attitude and approach which the Muslim world, about more than 15, 16 countries have taken, that is going to be quite difficult for India to sustain it. And from that standpoint, this time, even Blinken, in his statement of religious freedom report, while the religious freedom report was issued just about a few months ago, and Secretary Blinken has really very vocally told that what's going on in India, particularly with regard to the cow transportation and on the garb of the smuggling of cow, how they are lynching the minorities, particularly Muslim there. That was one. But then the united approach of these about 15 countries this time is one which has asserted a pressure, and India could get away with infotech of about 700 or more propaganda outlets. They could get away with some of the resolutions which was passed by the General Assembly, and they are still avoiding the resolution which has been passed by the Security Council. But this time it's the General Assembly Resolution 3635, which is purely about the religious freedom. And that has been violated Universal Declaration of Human Rights. That clearly illustrates about the freedom, religious freedom, and international covenant on the civil and political rights. That is Article 18, I guess, 1966. That again is very clear. 1981, there was another the international instrument which clearly dilates upon the discrimination based on the religion and faith. So all these international instruments, the agreements, they are going against India, and this time, particularly the OIC members, and quite a large number this time, that's about 15, 14, 15 members, they have not only given a démarche to their respective in their respective country to their respective ambassadors, but also the population as a whole have started boycotting the product of the India. Although India is trying to repair the damage, but the track record which India has, it would be very hard. It would be very hard. First time I am seeing that it's a bottoms up pressure on the rulers of the Gulf countries and some of the countries where authoritarian regime prevailed, any statement against India, giving any statement against India. This time, the matter is such that those countries and the rulers of those respective countries could not really say anything that, because their feelings are also hurt. The feelings of the entire Muslim Ummah is hurt. So this time,
exactly, and that is why there was obviously protest by the Arab world and the Muslim world at large, and that is why India is facing music right now. But Dr. Hamid, I wanted to come towards you. I just wanted to ask you. I mean, previously, of course, the issue started from India. Two of the spokesperson of the ruling party, backed by Hindutva ideology, of course, RSS. Two of the spokespersons, they monger hate against Islam, and here it is. I mean, yesterday there was the flag bearer of hate from Europe, Geert Wilders. He is the one who's coming up with an idea that he has something to do with it as well. So he hails them to hate mongers of India. So are we seeing that all of the hate mongers throughout the world, they will be joining hands against the Islam, and of course it's a sort of Islamic phobic club that has joined hands against the Islam?
And Dr. Mashriqi, because there's dearth of time, let me also add a question here regarding the reaction of Muslim countries. We have seen Muslim countries actually issuing statements and condemning what was said and demanding that there should be more. But then there is an organic boycott of Indian products in many of these countries. If this continues, do you think that in coming days, because India has incredible amount or number of diaspora working in those countries, and if there's a boycott, there can be some kind of pressure on India, because hate or anger can be there, and it can make life really difficult for those countries, and they send somewhere around $50 billion worth of remittances back to India.
Thank you very much. I would like to answer Pitafi Saab's question first. Let me some figures, and that's why I believe that this is the first time that inside in India, even the political parties such as Aam Aadmi Party and the Congress, they all are talking about against BJP's government and their action, so far action for that mongers, because they know that they're gonna suffer a very heavy economical losses, and because this is the response from the Muslim countries and especially from the Gulf countries. I have got some figures and they were very astonishing. That would you believe that there are over 6.1 million Indians are working within the Gulf countries, 2.8 million in UAE, 3.1 million in Saudi Arabia and other countries. On the other hand, $84 billion remittances were sent last year by the earnings of the Indians to the Indian economy back to home. Then there are over $28 billion of export from India to the Gulf countries. Then there is 30% of the population of Indians, of entire population of UAE is consisted of Indians. 30% are UAE population is consisted of Indians. Now, this is not an easy thing for India to be able to handle if there will be a proper boycott from the Gulf countries. We have seen that this time, including the Kuwait, Qatar, and then the UAE and Saudi Arabia and other Gulf countries, because of their effective boycott, because of their effective protest, and because of calling their the diplomats and they're demarching them, everything has given a very, very good, I should say, effect on the cause, and it will help the cause working against Islamophobia. And there is no doubt that I have been watching on Indian channels, I've been watching on Indian articles and others, and I have come to the conclusion that this is the first time they are on back foot. They are on their knees that if Gulf countries and Muslim countries come together and take step in, then there will be very shock to the Indian economy. In
Why
relation
stop when you can do something good?
Yeah, Geet Wilders.
Friends, I would like to say this. I mean, this is the history of Islam. The mongers or these Islam voices were always there. And as per Allah says that that there is Prophet Prophet's name will always be highest. Nobody can affect his glory and his name. But as long as the Muslim Ummah is together, this is the time when Muslim Ummah has to be together, and they have seen that if they take the action together, it will give a proper message to the rest of the
Right,
world.
absolutely, Dr. Hamid. But again, but the fact that when we're talking about a consensus or perhaps an action that is taken together, that's even hard to achieve. And we were just discussing this yesterday as to how exactly we can come to a conclusive, united understanding first of Islamophobia, and then of course developing a framework on how to actually go about dealing with it on the global scale as well. Dr. Jamil, with regards to this, what do you think can be done, or the way forward for Muslim countries to unite and to develop a coordinated strategy towards dealing with Islamophobia in different parts of the world? There are, of course, challenges of an understanding of this challenge in itself, but then again, there may be avenues that currently still exist, or there may be tools that still haven't been used yet. Do you think that there is something more that can be done from the Islamic world?
And sir, can I also ask these tools that India keeps on using? There seems to be a strange connection between the moments when India is under pressure and the moment terrorist organizations start actually threatening India. First, we saw Al-Qaeda statement coming out, and now we have seen that ISKP is also doing it. Is it not actually an indication that somehow there is a connection between the intelligence agencies of India and these groups, because they start bailing them out and start changing the conversation to terrorism rather than human rights?
I should say very
quite right. A very significant point which has been raised by your anchor first, and then of course I'm going to respond to that. Intelligence agencies and the link between some of these groups, those are the established ones. And you are very right that there could be a link, and there could be countermeasure tactics by their intelligence agencies to divert the attention of it. But this time, as the first question was asked, what are the tools available? Now, they are very strong tools. Besides all the international instruments and treaties which I just referred. Besides that, because those are the legal diplomatic platforms which all these Muslim countries can jointly invoke. But more than that, OIC platform by itself, where Indian was once dreaming to even apply for the membership, and they somehow were able to get succeeded in their attaining the observer status in one of the occasions in UAE. But now it would become very hard. Number one, number two, there are articles of the OIC, and those articles, I think it's a time that one of the member countries of OIC, Pakistan being the patron member, and other countries also, they could requisition extraordinary session of Council of Ministers. I would say this such a issue, and which is hurting the feelings of the entire Muslim Ummah. And there won't be any harm if we Pakistanis requisition the session of extraordinary session of the head of states, which is Article 10 of the OIC. And if Article 10 of the OIC is invoked, and some other members...
Thank you very much, Dr. Jameel Khan. Unfortunately, we're out of time. And thank you very much, Dr. Hamid Khan, also for being a part of the debate. That's all we have for now. We'll see you tomorrow.